Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show on this Tuesday, the 25th of July, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Let's talk silver and let's talk Bitcoin. Which one's the best buy right now? They're both pretty good buys. Bitcoin price has been knocked down. You remember it was $68,000 a long time ago. Back when mining was a lot easier. Talking about the miners, because yes, Bitcoin does have a production cost associated with it. And what's more, we're going to talk about the production cost associated with silver. How they get it, where it comes from, and is it a good buy? Because a lot of times what something is actually worth has to do with how much effort it takes to get it, what the cost associated with getting it is, and how scarce the resource is. You have to take these things into consideration. So let's take a look. Silver mines. Right behind my head, this thing is a cavernous thing into the ground. Do you see? Honest to God, all these little pathways around here, that's where trucks drive on to get down deeper and deeper and deeper into the mine. You can see that when they first started digging here, in this mine behind my head, it probably wasn't a big hole there at all. They were digging on the surface, and the silver deposits were probably much, much better than they are now. You see, they've dug it all out, but there's still silver there. It's just that what's called ore grades are dropping off, and that's because they've dug out all the easy stuff first, and now they're into the harder stuff that's a little bit less silver in it. There's a big pit full of silver before they came there. Anyway, so they mine it out of the ground that way, and they crush it in rock crushers and stuff and get it down to a powder, and then they sift the silver out of it. And the silver that they get out of it, you wouldn't recognize it, but they have an awful lot of cost associated with it. And the cost is associated with the cost of diesel fuel, mostly. Also, all parts and things that they have to buy. They're just like silver mines, are just like you guys. You guys go to the hardware store lately and you see the price of things. If they need new equipment, they need grease for their machines. Oh, grease has doubled in price, tripled in price. Oh, they need some new cotter pins, whatever. It went way up, doubled, tripled in price. This puts extra cost. Because I remember a few years ago, the cost of producing an ounce of silver was $6. Just a few years ago. I think it was back when I started my channel. Just a few years ago. But now the cost has changed. Now, I've checked into it this morning, and the cost to get this stuff into what's called a dory bar out of these mines, costs $12 to $14. So what is a dory bar? A door bar. Let's take a look at it. Behind my head here, it's almost unrecognizable. It looks like a rock. It doesn't even look like silver. It's not even white and pure. It's just, that's a door bar. And it's like, it's silver. Yes, it's silver. But its purity is not like the silver you're used to. When you buy an ounce of silver in your coin that's all white and shiny, it's not like this door bar at all. So it costs, there you go, there's about $14 right there per ounce for that door bar behind my head. But now, they have to send that door bar out into refiners and smelters, and then it has to go to mints, and each time it has to be moved around, shipping costs are going up. And then these companies, they charge an extra added cost to refine it into what you're used to getting, which is the finished product. So it's about another $4 getting it into that finished product, and then you just have to start counting other things like exploration, all in production, all in costs again on top of that. And what we're looking at, is probably just shy of $20, more or less. Now, it's hard to put an exact number on it and stuff, Some mines it might be 17, 18, you know, along in that range. But this is your cost. So they do have a little bit of a profit margin. So what is the profit margin? I run it through the calculator, more or less, the profit margin to the spot price. And right now it's about, I think, around 24%. So they're working with a bit of a profit margin. But it's not big, it's very small, considering how much work's involved in all of this. So there's your silver mines, and that's their profit margin. But you know, I'm going to tell you guys something. Bitcoin has a profit margin too. What does it cost to produce a Bitcoin? Well, this is very interesting because back when Bitcoin was $68,000 a piece, the mining costs in the United States was from $5,000 to $10,000 range. Back about a year or 2 years ago. And I remember I seen one other estimate a couple years ago, and they said $7,000 to mine a Bitcoin. That's back when the price was at 68,000. So that kind of fits into that $5,000 to $10,000 range. So say $7,000. Back when Bitcoin was 68,000. There's a large profit margin. But what is the profit margin now? Because it's went up. It now costs $17,000 to produce a Bitcoin. Look, it says right here, it now costs Bitcoin miners at least $17,000 to produce one Bitcoin in the United States. Boy, that's a big increase in cost. For a reduced price, because the price has been cut in half. Bitcoin's under 30,000 now, right around $30,000. And suddenly, the cost is more than doubled, almost tripled to produce one. This is very interesting. But there's still quite a large profit margin. So remember me saying there's about a 24% profit margin on silver? Bitcoin, I think I figured it out on the calculator, it's like 43% profit margin. That's much larger than silver. It's almost double the profit margin. Even still, even with Bitcoin down as low as it is right now, the profit margins for the miners is still a lot larger than it is on silver. So there's more room for Bitcoin to go down and still have a profit margin between the miners and the actual product. But there isn't much room on silver. Now here we got coming. Oh, I just wanted to mention something to you guys first, though. Yeah, in my show, I think it was yesterday, I said about how they could drop the silver price to zero. If they drop it below the profit margin for the miners, they're not going to have any silver. So yeah, technically they could drop the price on silver. And they possibly will for a very short period in time so that they can scoop it all up for themselves. That is a possibility. And we might see a silver price drop coming up very soon before the Fed has to readjust and go back to easier monetary policy. So we got a Fed thing coming up right away. What are they going to do? The most likely outcome is they're going to raise 25 basis points. I think the markets are already pricing this in. And so that's the most likely outcome. They raise 25 basis points. At which time, silver could see a very slight reduction in price. Just a slight reduction. If they were to raise 50 basis points, which is unlikely, silver could actually see a substantially bigger drop. And there'd still be room for the miners. I think they could take it down to around 20 before they'd start to cut the miners out of their profit margin. Well, it's a 24%. What did I say? 24% profit margin. You know, they got a bit of room where they could drop it down. The miners could still make like a 10% profit margin or something. But it loses incentive after a while if there's no profit margin. If they drop it down into the negative on the profit margin, the miners would just throw up their hands and say, hey, we ain't mining this. Not unless we can make some profit. I think they know better than to do that because they just won't have any silver. Anyway, so the Fed, 25 basis points is most likely. There would be a run into the dollar if they raise 50. I don't think they're going to. And what about them holding put and saying, okay, we're going to not do anything? I don't think there's much chance of them doing that either right at this juncture. It's a possibility. If they do, you're going to see the price of silver move up rather sharply if they did that. But what if they said they were going to cut rates? Well, say hyperinflation right off, and the price of silver would explode. So, the price of silver right now is totally dependent on what the Fed does. Most likely they're going to raise 25 basis points. I thought you guys would be interested in knowing what the profit margins were on silver versus Bitcoin. And maybe you guys learned something, that Bitcoin is not just something that is like worth nothing because there's no associated cost with it. Like they can just create as many Bitcoins as they want. No, they can't. They can create all these other coins like Bitcoin. They could create Bitcoin number 543, but nobody's going to want it. It's going to be worthless. Because there's nothing associated with it. No cost, no network, no nothing. This infrastructure that they've built, everything else that they've built, that's what gives Bitcoin value. And you just can't create a second Bitcoin and call it Bitcoin and have it be the real Bitcoin. It's not. And everybody knows it's not. So where's the real worth? It's in the real Bitcoin, and there's a cost associated with mining each Bitcoin of $17,000 to get it into your. That's electricity costs mostly, and equipment costs. Because what happens is to mine a Bitcoin out, they have to solve mathematical problems by computer, and that takes time and energy and machine work. That's the cost associated with it. And there's places where they have these mining rigs set up and they're mining Bitcoin. Anyway, you guys know about that. So the silver price today is at $24.66. It's up 36 cents on the day so far. This is great value too, really, when you consider that the cost it's taken them and the work it takes them to get these one coin to you. And there's a set price on that you can say to yourself, hey, this is worth about more or less $20 worth of labor and commitment and digging and diesel fuel and everything else that goes into it. Where a lot of things you buy out there, like you buy a new car, the day you drive the thing off the lot, it drops like $10,000 the first little drive down the road. What's it actually worth? Well, it ends up in the crusher 4 years later. An ounce of silver it's gonna still be an ounce of silver 4 years from now. So it's more like savings in the bank rather than. So there's a lot of value along with this as well, But that's a tremendous when you consider that they're only getting $24 and change. Well, $24.67. And it costs about $20 just to get it there. That's really something. Great value. Taking a look at cryptocurrency today, we see Bitcoin. It's at 20. You know what? I forgot to do gold. I'm always doing that. Okay, gold is at $1,964. It's up $10.60. Gold's spiking right now. Spiking right up there. Look at it go. That's nice to see. Anyway, cryptocurrency today is 29,235, and Ethereum is at 1860. I've noticed quite a bit of stability in the Bitcoin market as of lately. And the thing is I said that before, didn't I? On a show not long ago. I said, look at the stability. And it started crashing like 15 minutes later. As soon as I said that, now I'm saying it again. Boy, I better keep my mouth shut. I don't want to see it. Anyway, XRP is 70 cents right now. So, there we have it. Ethereum at 1860. Now, Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 82 points on the day at 35,493. Taking a look at crude oil is at 79.65. Now, here's one other thing I wanted to point out to you guys is crude oil prices have been really going up lately. Sharply. Let's take a look here at the last 3 months. You see this? Powie. We were looking at prices that were down around 70. Now it's moved up to 80 basically. It's moved up like $10. This is going to directly impact the cost to produce silver. So those quotes I gave you, $14 an ounce for the mines. All that diesel oil just went up. So now it might be $16. And add on top the price of smelting and all that makes that even higher too. Because that requires a lot of heat. Heat's involved in smelting metals. Well, there you go. It might be approaching $21 by now, or maybe it's moved up a buck or two more. Just since they did the charts on this stuff. Because prices are going up massively fast. Even down to the food. You gotta feed miners, and they love to eat. Boy, after a hard day's mining, boy, they really love to eat. And food prices are going through the roof. Just that alone. Okay, so anyway, bonds and rates here today. We're looking at rising yields. U.S. 30 years at 3.93. It's up 1 basis point. And the U.S. 10 years at 3.89 is up 3.7 basis points. Checking in with the dollar index today is at 101.34. And it's basically going along sideways today. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.